classic Q&A, why not? Some of the most common questions I get asked again and again by you lovely people, plus some of the sweetest questions, some of the funnest ones, and some of the most intrusive ones too. I got so many questions from you on here and on Instagram and in DMs, and I wish I had time to answer all of them, but I don't have 20 hours to sit here, and I'm sure neither do you. What are some of the biggest, surprising misconceptions that people sometimes have about you when they meet you? Maybe someone have shared with you. This doesn't really happen so much to me anymore, but back in the day, my lookbook days, my health goth, platinum blonde, buzz cut and no eyebrows days, people would so often tell me that they were surprised when they met me that I was kind and gentle, that they had expected me to be, tough and intimidating and maybe even mean. But then, I started doing talking videos on YouTube, and since then, I think my true gentle side would be quite obvious. And ever since, I think people have, a more correct image of me when they meet me in person. At least no one has told me otherwise. Because, if you run into me on the street or if you meet me at one of my book events, I think I am kind of exactly the person that I am in my videos. Maybe a bit more, overwhelmed and scatterbrained if it's a book event where I, meet 100 of you at once. But otherwise, I don't tend to get guarded or professional at these things. I tend to just want to meet you in a very personal way, which is why I absolutely love doing book signings, because not only do you get to meet me, much more importantly, I get to meet you. Now, this is an important question, so pay attention now. Where do you buy vegan cheese and your other snacks? Well, in London, we're incredibly spoiled with gorgeous vegan cheeses, as I'm sure you've seen whenever I show off photos of Davis and my epic vegan cheese boards. We usually buy them at health food shops and organic food shops like Whole Foods, Planet Organic, or the small ones that you run into here and there. My favorite vegan cheese brands are Honestly Tasty, Kinda Co, and Mouse's Favorite. For more normal hard cheeses and grated cheeses, nothing beats classic Veal Life. Now, snacks. I have two absolute favorites that I need to rooftop shout about. Other Foods crunchy shiitake mushrooms and the Well and Truly crunchies, especially the punchy pickles flavor. If you have similar taste buds to me, you will die when you try these. Absolutely, happily die from tastiness. Again, you can buy these in Whole Food shops or in Holland & Barrett or online. I think Ocado has the Well and Truly's, for example. If you do try them, let me know what you think. How did you become so bold to dream big, becoming a writer, and then go for it? I respect that so much, and I'm glad that you did. This is one of the sweetest questions, and it made me so happy to read, because the thing is, it was quite gutsy of me, wasn't it, deciding to try to get a novel published and then seeing it through. But you get so swept up in the daily work stress that I think I don't always give myself enough credit for pulling off this stunt. So thank you, Laura, for reminding me to be a bit grateful to myself for doing something so, I don't want to say ballsy, because, well, I for one do not believe that courage originates in the testicles, but you know what I mean. So the question is how did I become so bold to dream big? Thing is, I don't really know. I think I have to thank the adults that I had in my life growing up, both family, relatives, teachers, family, friends. I think I just grew up in an environment of anything is possible and it's okay to try and fail and try again and fail again. I never felt pressured or held back as a child. I think I was basically told that, anyone can achieve greatness, but also mediocrity is also very good. I was just told to be myself and, to be happy. And maybe it's part of my personality, something I was born with. But I've always been very, very ambitious. And I've always been incredibly motivated by praise, let's be honest. So I think starting this YouTube channel and getting praise and encouragement from all of you for the last decade, that, as much as my upbringing, has made me quite a self-assured and adventurous and optimistic person. I know very few YouTubers are lucky like this with their communities and can easily go the other way and tear you apart if you're met with harsher responses to your videos. But I'm lucky enough to get almost exclusively nice, kind and gentle engagement from a lot of you. So this was just a long way of saying that I think that my own adventurism, it is a combination of an ambitious personality combined by being met with encouragement and positivity from the people around me, whether that be, by a third grade teacher or strangers online in my DMs. So I firmly believe that we need to have zero tolerance for relationships that bring us down and make us feel less than. Only support and encouragement and praise, please. I want to say a big thank you to Vivaia for sponsoring today's video. You all know I'm crazy about their shoes, and I'm so excited to show you 4 pairs from their latest collection, especially since their huge Black Friday sale is happening right now. Whether I'm out on like a heavy-duty cold winter walk or going to a holiday gathering, these 4 pairs will keep me covered. They're comfortable, stylish and lightweight, and every pair is made from recycled plastic bottles. First up, we have the Tyler waterproof boots in chestnut. Puffer boots are everywhere right now, and I love this style. Plus, they're so incredibly comfortable. They're fully waterproof, so I don't need to worry about rain or slush or snow, and I can already see myself packing these for a winter Sweden trip. Next, we have the Regina Pro in black. These are sleek, classic and refined, but still incredibly comfortable for long, busy days. And they're water repellent too, so perfect for splashy London winters. Personally, I'll be wearing these non-stop this winter. Then we have the Francesca loafers in black. I love how classic these are, but still so cushioned and comfortable, and the subtle platform sole makes them modern while still being a timeless design that you can wear season after season. And finally, we have the Samantha Walker loafers in black cheetah. These are just so much fun. The cheetah print adds personality without being over the top. I'm toying with the idea of making these my house slippers for now. How fancy, walking around in these in the kitchen while cooking my morning porridge. These 4 pairs are all so well designed. They're extremely lightweight at around 350 grams per shoe and cushioned insoles for support. And the boots come with the option of these fantastic removable leg warmers as well. Also, Vivaia's eco-friendly approach makes them a brand that I'm so happy to work with. If you want to get your hands on your very own Vivaia shoes, now is the perfect time. Just use my code bfjenny for an exclusive Black Friday offer, November 13th to December 2nd. You'll get 10% off 1 pair, 20% off 2, 25% off 3, and 30% off 4 pairs. This is a fantastic deal. Just click the link in the description to have a look for yourself. Thank you again to Vivaia for sponsoring me today, and now let's get back to the video. Favorite Scandi writers? Well, I don't actually read a lot of Scandinavian literature. I've always been the type of reader who wants to explore new worlds and new circumstances, so I'm not particularly well acquainted with Nordic writers. That being said, I do have a couple of favorites like Tove Ditlevsen, Gun-Britt Sundström, and of course my childhood hero herself, Astrid Lindgren. Pippi Långstrump, Mio min Mio, Bröderna Lejonhjärta, and my personal favorite, Ronja Rövardotter. The nostalgia. Do you think you'll stay in London forever, or is there another city in your future? Listen, if I know one thing for certain about me and David, it's that there are no things for certain about our future. We change our mind and change it again on like a biannual basis. What I can say about London is that, honestly, I never felt as home in any other place. And we have a community here. We have planted our roots deeply in the London soil. So I do believe that London will be our base for many, many years to come. Although I also believe that we will live in other places too, like taking shorter intermissions in other countries. Say, living in Tokyo for 6 months, or New York for 2 months, or countryside Sweden for a year or two, or who knows where really. The world is big, there is plenty to see, and we are lucky enough to have jobs that allow for like shorter relocations and adventures. So why not? What is your favorite food? Noodle soup, obviously. How does it feel to have your stories read and loved by so many people? Again, one of those incredibly sweet questions. And I had a bunch of these, just asking me how I feel about my life, my career, how it feels to publish a book, etc. And I was so grateful to read these questions because, again, it's just a reminder for me to kind of pause and take a step back and ask myself this, how does it feel? Because honestly, it's so devilishly easy to normalize being an author or a YouTuber or whatever it is, that I often focus more on the next goal or the next dream, how to improve as a writer or reach the next milestone, that I forget to remember that there are thousands of you out there right now reading one of my books. How insane is that? How magical. It's very surreal, and also It makes me excruciatingly curious. I want to be a fly on the wall. I want to know which sentences that you underline, or if you laugh or you cry when you read. I don't want to know if you hate it, because of course there's a bit of that too. I do want to know if you love it though. Again, as mentioned, I'm highly motivated by praise. Let's be honest about that. Would you ever write a fantasy book? Nowadays, I'm extremely niched in my own reading. As a young one, I used to read widely, like classics, literary fiction, thrillers, fantasy, all of that. But with every passing year, my reading taste gets more and more refined, and I know exactly what I enjoy and what gives me goosebumps. Playful, stylistically unique classics, and hyper-realistic, plotless, short, extremely voicey literary fiction. I don't want big characters, I don't want fun plots, I want sentences that sing. I want prose that has been edited rigorously and with energy. I'm all about the sentence. So with fantasy, usually the genre will be the complete opposite. Long books, all about the larger-than-life characters and the ultra-unrealistic plots and worlds. That being said, as a young one, fantasy and classics, they were my two favorite genres. So my inner child / inner teenager would love to write a fantasy trilogy. Perhaps one day, if I need a break from my normal, hyper-realistic fiction writing, I might have a go. Under a pseudonym, why not? If nothing else, for the fun of coming up with a pseudonym. Any suggestions? Will the Mustards podcast ever come back? Again, I had a bunch of questions like this. It's one of the most common questions that I get. And you know how much both David and I loved doing the podcast, not least because of those of you who listened every week. It became such a close-knit, beautiful community around the podcast, but alas, the time it took to produce. There's just no way to realistically do both writing, YouTube and podcast. I hope we will do more episodes at one point, but it's not currently on the horizon, I'm sad to say. Advice on balancing personal endeavors along with spending time with friends, family, partner. Kai Marie, I'm so the wrong person to ask. In my household, there is zero balance. I'm not a balanced person. I'm an extreme person. That's my personality. So I will always prioritize personal endeavors and partner, and then I will squeeze in friends and family whenever I have the time. Sometimes there is time, sometimes there is not. David and work come first, not out of a sense of duty, but out of a sense of preference and sensibility. Will you ever release a vegan cookbook in English or make more recipe videos? Okay, so back when we first started this YouTube channel, it was all about cooking. Do you remember those days? Anyone watching that has stuck around since those early days of the cooking videos? Huge shout out to you if so. At the same time as creating about 1 to 3 recipes a week for the channel and for my blog, I also did a cookbook in Sweden with another, 70 or 80 recipes, I think. Basically, I would spend all day, every day in the kitchen cooking. I loved it. It was so creative in a physical, non-cerebral type of way. It was working with your hands and with your taste buds more than with your brain. And it was a wonderful period of my life when I felt very free, very creative, and just very well fed all the time. But I think what happened was that I, true to form, I overdid it. I always do this. I fall in love with something and then I go a bit manic with it for a while until I sort of burn out. So I burnt out on cooking. Even to this day, that almost 10 years later, I have a hard time cooking. David does most of it. So no new recipe videos or cookbooks on the horizon. But it was a good lesson for me because when I started taking my writing more seriously, I reminded myself to, pace myself and not burn out by overdoing it. Because what I want more than anything is to be a writer to the day that I die. So in between projects, I take writing breaks, so a good lesson learned. What would you tell your 16-year-old self about love, personal growth, and job? When I was 16, I was extremely confused, as are most 16-year-olds, I guess. I didn't know up from down, really, and I had no plans for the future, except for vague dreams of maybe one day becoming a novelist or an actress or an animal rescuer of some sort. Again, like I talked about earlier, I had zero pressure from my surrounding adults. I was allowed to go with the flow, and honestly, I don't remember ever a single time feeling stressed about my aimlessness and lack of direction. Back then, it was good enough to simply survive another day of being a hormonal teenager. So I think I would just tell myself at 16, carry on, don't mind me, go on about your aimless day. Things won't fall into place because we force them to. Things fall into place because we allow ourselves to feel our way blindly until we find something that feels good. A couple of years later, finding David, that felt good. Trying London as an experiment and leaving Sweden, that felt good. Living in Berlin, that didn't feel good, so back to the drawing board. Writing a novel, turns out that feels extremely good. Basically, what I do believe more and more firmly every year is that the gut is truer than the brain. Following the gut, the feeling, listening to, what our senses are telling us, that leads us to much happier places than what rational decisions ever will. Maybe not the places that we had expected or imagined or hoped for, but happier places nonetheless. I want to know where all of the tea crockery is from. Ding, 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 Shruti has nailed it. The most common question I get asked probably, at least on Instagram. Whenever I show off one of my 2 glassware teapots, I get dozens of questions about them. Both of them are from Mono, Germany. They have kindly gifted me these 2 pots with matching teacups, but I have also bought a couple of these teapots myself because what I find is they make such a great wedding present, don't they? Every newly married couple needs a Bond villain chic teapot in their home, don't they? I use these daily and they're 2 of my favorite things that I own. What is your dream follower subscriber, if any? Age, gender, values, etc. This is something every creative is advised to think very carefully about. What is your demographic? Who is your dream subscriber? What is your core audience? Who is the preferred imagined reader of your novels? Age, gender, nationality. I couldn't care less. Honestly, I do not care, and I don't think I fit one age or one region or one gender more or less. What I care about really is 2 things. I want an audience of people who are kind and curious. I don't even care what your current values are. You could be right-wing and conservative, so the opposite from me. But if you are kind and you are curious, I'm happy to have you. We all come from somewhere, and I think that I write and talk about things that really are quite universal and quite easy to relate to if you are an open-minded, curious person. And I think the more we could hear each other out and seek understanding across the political spectrum or across generational or gender divides, the better societies will build. But I myself are left-wing queer feminist vegan, so I think I do tend to attract mostly an audience of the more progressive kind, which is a bit sad, I think. I get very pleased when one of you get in touch and it turns out that you're the opposite from me and we can still meet in at least some ways. Things get scary when we all stay within our bubbles, I feel. So yes, my channels, my books, if you're kind and you're curious, I'm lucky to have you as a reader or an audience. And I applaud anyone who consumes content outside of their immediate self-reflective bubble, if that makes sense. Honestly though, this was the loveliest video I've recorded in a damn while. I smiled so wide reading all of your questions, and as always, I love getting reminded of the fact that, you are real people there on the other side of this camera lens. It means a lot to me, every one of you, getting in touch with a question. I'm so pleased that you're here and that we're doing this every week or so, and that it has become, blatantly apparent after a decade of these videos and after a few years of meeting at book events, that what you are, the vast majority of you anyway, is a heap of just kind and curious people, aka my dream subscribers. I had so much fun today. Thank you for watching and for all of your questions, and see you soon, okay? All right, bye for now.